Birds 365 on a victory Monday after a win over the Dallas Cowboys 28-23 at Lincoln Financial Field. And Chris Franklin was there. You were there. You sat next to McMullen. You saw him yesterday. He was actually there in the press box, right? Because he told me he was hanging out with Jeff Kerr. I said, that means he's not hanging out
By
with
the way, I have never had a more difficult time getting to Lincoln Financial Field, Chris. Have you ever?
What the hell was yesterday?
Yeah.
See, the funny thing was I took the back way coming from the south too, so I got in there decently. There's anybody else like up north. It's crazy. I felt bad because I saw it everywhere. It was nuts. It really was.
Down 11th
well, wait a minute.
Street.
Did we have a weekend just a couple weekends ago where there were 3 events going on, and including a soccer game at Lincoln Financial?
I don't know why. I don't know what was going on. I have never had they shut down 11th Street on me. I'm like, I had to go around the building. I had to go the back way. I'm saying, it was backed up as I got through the Walt Whitman, Chris. It was completely backed up. So I'm like, I'm not going to wait in this to go to Broad Street and go the back way. But by the way, I shouldn't be saying this. So I get off at Front Street and I'm like, all right, I'm making decent time. It's a little bit of traffic. And then as I hit Patterson, just bang, stop, nothing. Took me an hour to get from Patterson down by Front Street to the parking lot. It was unbelievable. It was
It felt really lonely in that press box for a while, like an hour and a half before. It's like, where is everybody? Yo.
It was
crazy,
and I still don't know why. Anyway, but no one cares. But I had.
All right, so eventually everybody got into the stadium, and Eagles got off to a good start and had a lead, and then the fourth quarter kicked in, and the Eagles had to win this one by the hair on their chinny chin. Should we be more excited that Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham came up with huge sacks late? Should we be mocking the Cowboy quarterback? Johnny got on his case pretty good earlier. Dak might have thrown for 300 and change yards, but he came up real small in the biggest spot at the end of the game. Or should we be questioning the Eagles in that, man, how could they not put that game away? All they needed was a couple first downs, and it never even comes to what it came to at the end of the game. I'm sure it's a combination of all, but which jumps out at you most, Chris Franklin?
I think it was salting the game away. I think that was the biggest thing that leaps out to me, in the fact that you basically had them dead to rights, and you could have just walked away. It would be a lot easier, a lot smoother. You could just walk down here. Everybody's feeling it was a great feeling. I mean, beat the Cowboys is a good feeling, around this area, but you could have an even better feeling. But now you start to think it's going to be in the back of your mind now for the rest of the season and even into the playoffs. Now that you've seen this, you don't know. You hope it's a learning experience for them to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we have a different play call coming in on offense, so that way we don't put the defense there. Maybe you don't. Maybe you try a different play call on that third down when it's a fumble, or stuff like that. So I think that goes, and maybe you play a different defense, so that way no pass interference call against it. So I think that's the main concern, especially with this stretch of games coming up. It's going to be a big thing to watch coming up.
I'm going to set the panic meter. One is you're very calm and collected. Jalen Hurts level of straight line, flat line. 10, you're panic stricken. Eagles pass coverage. Where are you? 1 to 10.
I'm going to say, I'll say 6. And the reason why I'm saying a 6 is I think I look at the reinforcements that are on the way. You got 2 veterans that are going to be coming back, and Bradley Roby and Eli Ricks, that they can mesh into what's going on right now. Because right now, when you have
you must mean somebody other than Eli Ricks, because he's not a veteran.
I'm sorry, Roby and Justin Evans. I think those guys are coming back. Yeah, because Eli.
I forgot. Is Justin Evans still on the team?
Oh
yeah. He was working. They were working out. They were working. We saw him working out on the side this week, so they're getting close. And Bradley Roby himself said last night that he's coming back. He's ready to pick.
The slot corner too. When in doubt, just move
Justin
a safety
Evans
down the
has played
corner.
slot.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
In New Orleans, he played slot, so he can play slot as well. Yeah, he's their best coverage safety. I don't know Kevin Byard. I haven't seen him enough, but he certainly was a better coverage. He was one of the best coverage players in the NFL. I don't know how much he has left. Hasn't been tremendous, but it's difficult to come in. Justin Evans had been their best coverage safety, and now you have, I've been talking Roby. Look, I know, here's what Roby knows how to play, so it's got to be better. He knows how to play the position. Sidney Brown, Eli Ricks, tip of the cap to those guys, but they're playing out of position. They don't know how to play the position. And when you get Cooper Kupp or CeeDee Lamb, ooh, you can get ugly at times.
It's no fault of their own. To me, it's like almost like you place them in the middle. It's a tough situation for them to go at to adjust on the fly, especially as rookies. And they're still not only just learning the game, they have to learn a whole new position, something that because they're more outside guys. So I think that it's a really, really tough thing for them. And to me, Roby is the closest thing they've got going to Avonte Maddox that when it comes to the style of play and playing in that phone booth, helping out and run support and occasionally blitzing off the edge too. I think that they really need that coming back. And if he stays healthy, I think that rectifies some of the stuff. It's still not one of the best pass coverages right now in the league, even if you add him back on there. But at least it gives him a better shot, especially in that within that 10-yard range that the Eagles seem to be getting killed at the last couple of weeks.
All right. No, you're going to beg off till the all 22, and certainly we cut you slack, both of you two guys. But the two Eagle safeties which played, did they play 100% of the snaps yesterday? Both safeties played the entire game?
Let me see. I think
Byard played every single snap.
Byard and Cunningham, I think, played every snap, I think. And then I think maybe it was one or two, something like that. That was the breakdowns.
Damn close to Blankenship playing every single snap as well. So both safeties play. And the three linebackers who played yesterday, Cunningham played every snap, and they split between Morrow and Nakobe Dean.
Zach played well too, by the way. I thought
he did, but they made
Reed and Byard played the entire game.
Yeah. That's what I thought. They made Jake Ferguson look like Jay Novacek yesterday. He was open, making plays, turning the ball upfield.
Nice ball, by the way.
Someone in the middle of the field defensively did not do a good job on Jake. Second year, came out of nowhere. Ferguson for almost 100 yards and a touchdown yesterday. When the film breakdown comes in, who do you think is going to be held most liable?
I think Sean Desai, because I think a lot of the ways that the Cowboys are
I'm not asking you about Desai. I'm asking you about the players. Come on, you got to give me a player's name. You want to take a shot at Desai, feel free. But you got to give me a player's name on top of it too. One of those guys. So you got to give me either one of the two safeties and or one of the three linebackers. Somebody got eaten up by Jake Ferguson more than anybody else. Who was it?
I think Reed was the one that usually shifted down, and sometimes I saw Byard going out. If I remember correctly, it could be changed, but if I remember correctly, Reed seemed to be going down a lot into the box, and then Byard would go into that single high look sometimes. So I look at him when it comes to that. But I think the Cowboys did a really good job using that motion to shift everything to get the matchup they wanted. They really did. Whether it was Ricks in the middle, whether it was the tight end Ferguson as well too. They did a good job shifting things around to get those favorable matchups. And when they did, they were hitting it at a very high clip, except for when they counted up toward the red zone.
Yeah, I don't think, I thought Reed played pretty well, but I have to watch, as Jody said, I have to rewatch the game. I think Byard was better in week 2, but still not great. And I think Nakobe and Nick Morrow were not good in coverage. And Nakobe's hurt again. We'll see how that shakes out. But
speaking of Nakobe, that was interesting to see Morrow getting snaps a lot earlier too. That was really, really surprising seeing him on the sideline in some high leverage spots early. It was like, okay, you got questions now. You thought he would be the three down guy, and now
Zach Cunningham's the best linebacker on this team.
He's played the best, and it's not close.
Is that a good thing, Chris Franklin?
I don't think so. because you need your middle linebacker, especially as much as they rely on them in that middle of the field to drop back straight sometimes. It's very concerning. I mean, don't get me wrong, having Zach there that helps out. Just imagine if he wasn't there, what they could be going through right now. I think as a weak side guy, I like him, like in that spot, but you got some questions going at the middle now, especially with Dean being out.
And Reed Blankenship might be my favorite player on the whole team. Yeah, that's how much I enjoy rooting for Reed Blankenship. But 2 weeks in a row, he actually has been able to hide, I think, poorly played games by one big play. Last week, Washington interception. Yesterday, tackle at the 6-inch line on Skumac. And they're both great plays. You give him a ton of credit for that, but you got to evaluate the whole game. And
yeah,
I think,
well, I
think
agree
Reed
with
was
you.
the guy who was taking most advantage of by
maybe
Ferguson.
right. I did not think he played well in Washington, even with the interception. I was like, right after that game on the post game show, I was like, Reed did not play well. I didn't get that feeling this time, and maybe I'm wrong, and I got to relilook it, relitigate it, so to speak. But I don't think he had a poor game. I thought he had a poor game in Washington. But
worst last week in Washington, but I think he got beat a couple of times yesterday.
I don't think he's a great coverage safety. I will say that, Chris. Where are you with Reed Blankenship?
I think he's more of a he's more of a you hope he's in the back too, and he just plays center field. I think that's where he plays his strength in that, and then let him use that speed to try to fly toward the ball afterwards. If he has to roll down towards a slot or something like that, 1-on-1 against the wide receiver, I'll hold my breath at times. But I think he's more of a hey, sit back, watch the whole field, let everything develop in front of you, and then if you see something going, you have a chance to undercut it. I think that's what he did last year. That he did so well when he started jumping routes as well too. So, yeah, man to man, I got some questions when it comes to that.
All right, Chris Franklin, I need you to jump inside the head of Nick Sirianni, which is a winning place. Sometimes can be a goofy place, and I can't quite understand the last couple of weeks of the way that he's looked at and talked about Kenneth Gainwell. He gets all out of sorts because people are asking questions about Gainwell and not being able to hold the ball inside the 10-yard line. And he goes tremendously to his defense and says, if I pulled guy every time he made a mistake, Jalen Hurts makes mistakes, AJ Brown makes mistakes. Well, but they're Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Kenneth Gainwell is not AJ Hurts or Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown. And then he plays him, and he gets the touchdown run early. Nice cut, nice blocking. The hole was there, but he leapfrogs over the guy into the end zone, makes a big play, and then he never gets the ball again. He's got 3 carries for the entire game. After making a big play, after the coach goes to great lengths to take his back, and then he never goes to him again. What was the line of thinking yesterday by Nick Sirianni? Is that a just look to the offensive coordinator and say they never called him up and never got him back in there? In a day where Swift puts the ball on the ground twice, that was the day to get Kenny Gainwell more action. Why didn't it happen?
You just saw a variation of the question I was going to ask him later on today.
It's a Franklin Masano combination question. That works.
I thought, especially with the way he did it, to me, I think he thinks of him like this is his version of Naeem Hines, because you saw how much he revered him back then. I look at that and I was shocked at the way how much little uses they had. I thought they would use it more, especially sticking with the ground, because Swift was getting hit left and right, and I thought they'd at least give him a breather so you can use Swift later on as a closer to basically run that game out, clock out. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what's going on with that rotation. A lot of times you think that one guy's will get like previous week, Gainwell's getting a lot more runs than Swift was. Like, why didn't that happen? Why wasn't he getting more touches? It's hard to put a finger on how they use these guys each and every week. And I think especially against an athletic Cowboy team, I think that was the game where you use Gainwell a little bit more, especially and even as an outlet. I thought there would have been more options to throw him in the swing passes and get him involved, and that way he could to basically move that offense along as well too when they were getting in ruts. So I don't know what's going on inside Nick's head with that one, but it's a lot of questions going on. I'm not sure of that use, the running back usage, especially the last 3-4 weeks.
Now, Chris, I'm pretty locked in on this this team does not run the football well when Jalen Hurts is not involved. In other words, when that +1 is not threatening the opposition defense, I don't think you can just turn around and hand the ball to DeAndre Swift or Kenny Gainwell or Boston Scott or Rashad Penny and run the football effectively. And that kind of, again, played out yesterday. Should that surprise people? I mean, follow the money. They don't pay running backs. They don't pay these guys. So is it any surprise that they're not the best players on the team? AJ's good. Yeah. Devontae's good. Dallas is good. Guess what? AJ and Dallas have been paid. Devontae will get paid. They're the big time players. They say, running back, and you get what you pay for.
It's a plug and play position now. It really is, and it's one of those things where you're like, if I'm a running back, I'm looking at becoming a receiver. If I'm developing in college, I'm like, screw this. I'm gonna be a wide receiver.
If you got a kid and he's a tremendous athlete, you tell him, forget that backfield thing. Get out there and catch some passes. That's got to be trending in high school football all around the country right now.
Oh, hell yeah. And I think in this office as well, too, I also think some of these defenses now, since they know Hurts is dealing with that bone bruise in his leg, they're just like, so many times we hear about the RPR, the run options. They're like, well, we know this one option at the end is probably not going to happen. Or if he does, he may get 6 yards, he's going to slide. So we can focus more assets in the middle and say, we're going to clog up in the middle of the field and say, like, okay, try to beat us another way. You're going to beat us through the air. So I think that's the biggest factor in why the effectiveness of the run game is not. You can say they lost on the offense, that right guard spot, but you saw Stevens in there is all right too. I think it's more of the threat of Jalen Hurts' injury is taking away the threat of the run and is not opening up as many running lanes as it used to.
Chris, go ahead, Jody.
Go ahead, John.
When Jalen Carter jumped off sides yesterday with 27 seconds left, it became 1st and 5 at the Eagles' 6-yard line. And I don't know how you were feeling, but I was like, oh, the Eagles are going to blow this game. This is going to be an interesting post-game show. It's going to be interesting with Chris Franklin tomorrow morning. And bang, it goes false start. Dak Prescott taking a sack for 11 yards, incompletion, penalty for delay of game. And then he throws short of the end zone in desperation mode. They went from the 6 to the 11 to the 22 to the 27. Did Dak Prescott bail out the Eagles, or did the Eagles create their own good fortune?
Oh, he completely bailed them out. That any other if that's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes,
oh yeah,
any of the other top
awful,
5,
right?
6 quarterback, the Eagles are starting to play contingency.
Quarterback, that's
awful.
Yeah.
It goes back to the whole Dak and clutch situations argument, and that was on full display. How do you not, like, especially in that moment, not only are you supposed to hype, you should know every single situation. You should be telling the guys, be cognizant, hey, maybe I should look at the play clock a little bit more. You can't make all these extra adjustments and audibles at the last second. You just got to roll with it half the time. And he just froze up and everything. It wasn't as bad situational football in that time for Dak. And you keep way down there, keep waiting to say, oh, he's elite or he's great and everything. Moments like this keep going against the argument that he's among those top 5, top 6 quarterbacks in the league.
All right, Chris Franklin, need your read on the Eagles' schedule. Over the next 5 weeks, they will have showdowns with San Francisco 49ers, who've lost 3 in a row, but coming off a bye. And, of course, we're in the NFC Championship game with the Eagles. The rematch with Dallas in Dallas. Know how close yesterday's game was. Got to take it on the road. Having to travel out to Seattle and take on the Seahawks, who just got there. But
Baltimore's good. Baltimore's
Holy
good,
mackerel.
man.
I did not see that one coming. But they're all conference games. How big is the next game the Eagles play? against the team that they lost to in the Super Bowl. I know it's not in conference, so it doesn't have as big effect on the standings and the tiebreakers and everything else, but it's the Chiefs, and we know how close the Eagles were to beating the Chiefs. How much does the coaching staff, I bemoaned the fact that the Eagles won't be able to take advantage of a bye week with extra practice time because they collectively bargain that away. But it doesn't mean the coaches can't be in there putting in hours and hours and hours of prep time. How much is put on this Kansas City game as compared to other games that they've got coming up in the next month that may be more important because of the teams that they're playing in the conference in which they play?
I think it's a lot of importance for the fact that they want to keep the ball rolling from what the momentum that they currently have right now. I mean, the best thing that they have the worst thing that happened right now for this team, well, it could be a blessing and a curse in the same way with that bye week, because you come off a game like that where it's emotional, where you will beat your division rival. Now you're 2.5 games up on basically. Now you got to stop that and go, okay, restart all over again. And I think you need to start that win, because I'm looking at the schedule. I think that Cowboys game and that Seattle game could be a place where you're looking at back-to-back losses, and you don't really want to start losing 3 or 4, what have you, on that one too. So I think they're going to put a lot of importance in getting out to a quick start there. I think they win the Bills game, and I think they win the 49ers game. I think that stretch of having to go to Dallas, who's going to be pissed off already they lost, who they have issues with in Dallas already, and then you have to go back home and then fly back out to Seattle, a place that you always have issues with. I think that's going to make an issue.
It looks difficult on paper, but I do think the Bills aren't as good as we all thought they were. I think they're having some issues. As Jody mentioned, San Francisco has lost 3 straight. Now we'll see if Trent Williams is back. We'll see if Deebo Samuel can get back. That makes a big difference. The Cowboys, big spot. Now the Eagles typically have trouble down in Dallas. Good spread though. We'll have fun.
And the post game beer,
maybe the adult beverage after the game. That's always fun. It's always difficult flying out to Seattle, 12th man and all. So it's a difficult stretch. But man, this team. What are we at? 27 consecutive weeks, best record in the NFL, or tied for the best record in the NFL. They're better than all those teams. Well, they're not going to lose 3 or 4. Is that too optimistic?
Nah, I don't think so. I really don't. I think it's 2 of those 4.
3 or 5. If you put in the Kansas City mix, is 3 or 5?
3. It's 3 or 5.
3 or 5. I think
they stay above 500.
Going into this year, I think that's what I had.
Just a quick reminder: Giants, Cardinals, Giants to finish things out. It's kind of easy there at the back end, which is a nice little buffer in after that very difficult run in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it is. I think that this going into the season, I still believe that I think that's where they lose the 3 or 5. I think I had them with like 4 losses. I think I had like 4 losses going into it. And I think 3 of them were during this time too. So yeah, if they can weather the storm, if they can weather the storm and come away 2 and 3, which is crazy to talk about. Like, oh yeah, if they're 2 and 3, they're good. Like, yeah, they pretty much are. I think, and with the way things are shaping out, because you got
Detroit only for the reason of they have an easy schedule. And they're not a great team, but they're a good team, and they're going to keep winning games because they get to play the Chicagos of the world, Minnesota with Josh Dobbs. Credit to Josh Dobbs for what he did, but come on, it's Josh Dobbs. Green Bay this year. They're going to win a lot of games.
Packer win yesterday against Brett Rippon.
Brett Rippon. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Didn't like his dad, that's for sure.
Credit to them as well for beating Brett Rippon. Yeah, that's the only team I kind of worry about and say they could be sneaky just because the schedule for them is so easy.
See, when I look at when the Lions play the Vikings in Minnesota, I think that's a spot where it could be trouble for them, just for how loud that the crowd is, that stadium as well too, and the previous issues going in there. I think that's a loss, and then there could be another one somewhere along the line. So they have a cake schedule. I mean, it's definitely advantageous, a lot better than what the Eagles have, but I think there's going to be at least a couple more within that span, and it's going to come down to tiebreakers. It looks like.
All right, Chris Franklin, last question for me. The Philadelphia Eagles continue to win close games. If I give you three choices, tell me what order you would put this in. The Eagles win close games because of skill, toughness, or the clutch gene. If you had to put those three things in order, what order would you put them to attribute the Eagles' tremendous ability to win close games?
I think toughness is Actually, no, I'll go clutch because it's that X factor you need. You don't, and not everybody's built more with it because skills definitely last. Because I mean, there's a lot of skill around this league, and we see guys who are talented just seem to get that little lump in their throats that come up when it comes to those close times. So I probably go skill, the clutch gene first, toughness second, and then skill. Because I mean, you can be tough, you can be strong, you can knuckle down when it comes to those times, like within 2 minutes when you need to get 3 points or when you need to stop a defense from getting 3 points. But unless you have that it factor where you can remain calm, where you can just all of a sudden your heart slows down and you start looking, you can feel like, you know what, everything's not moving so fast that the field's just, you're in your element when it's really, really tough. I think that you can't acquire that. It's something that you already have. And the fact that they have Jalen Hurts in that situation a lot of times, you have some of these other guys, the veterans that have played with this back and even going back to their college days and been through here as well too. I think that goes a long way to them being in a situation. So yeah, definitely clutch is one.
All right, Chris Franklin's got the clutch gene for us, Jody McDonald.
Yes, he does.
Franklin News, NJ.com. Real quick, Dallas Goedert, how's it affected? He's going to be out for a while. I think he's at least hitting the IR. I find it very hard. 4 to 6 weeks, broken forearm. That seems optimistic. We saw it last year for 5 games. Jack Stoll stepping up.
I think you hate to say an injury, and I don't mean to say an injury is a good thing, but I think that also helps out that roster crunch of transactions that they're going to have coming up too. So
that's a good point.
That's going to help on that.
Lining. That's clutch, Chris.
Albert O. That's the one. I think this is where you start to see his receiving ability comes into play a little bit as well too. So I think that's a guy who's worth watching when it comes to that too. In conjunction with Stoll, but I think I'll say Albert O because I don't want to butcher his name, but Albert O is going to be the one I'm going to be watching at that time.
And Chris Franklin, feel free to use the question on Kenny Gainwell when you.
Hey, come on, a new one now.
We're boys. We're sharing opinions, information, and thoughts. Feel free to go ahead and put the coach on the spot with that one coming up this afternoon. Thanks for jumping in with us this morning.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one now.
Chris Franklin. NJ.com here with us on Birds 365. All right, quickie timeout. Come back. We got to put a bow on this show on a Victory Monday here on Birds 365.